Hi everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity on actually filling in for the event today for Esports Integrated Conference. I would like to say thank you to the Malaysian Ministry of Youth and Sports, and also to the Esports Integrated for the invitations for Indogen Capital today to share about creating esports partnerships, and we will also give some tips for brand marketers at least how to collaborate with esports ecosystems. Okay. So for today's agenda, first I will talk about the introductions to Indogen Capital and myself as well. And afterwards, then we will go to esports potentials in Southeast Asia. From there, then we will go for the sign of good esports company to work with. This is a good tips for you, the brand marketers, and also tips for brands as well if you want to successfully collaborate with the esports community. About Indogen Capital, we are a Southeast Asia focused venture capital firms based in Jakarta, Indonesia. Our specialty is actually in helping well-performing startups and corporations expand to enter and expand to Indonesia market. And we can do that because we have extensive networks reaching to the secondary and third-tier cities across Indonesia. And for portfolio companies, we have invested into two separate funds, and we have invested into 19 companies. We are sector agnostic, so we look for every sector possible. We are very opportunistic in this regard. But one of the latest investment actually into EFOS, and esports, the leading esports in Southeast Asia. And for exit, we actually have made 4 exits. First one is actually Aino, which is the company that set up the payment integration for public transportations across Indonesia. The company has been invested by NTT Data from Japan and acquired by TAS Corp as well. There is a Space Mob acquired by WeWork, the co-working space company, and there is also ClearBridge when IPO in is actually a health tech company being acquired, being IPO actually in Singapore, and Carsum is actually through secondary to Asia Partners. A bit about myself: I went to school at USC in Southern California, worked there for 2 years, I came back and then handled the family business. So family business is actually, we have distributions in for many products. So we distribute Yamaha motorcycles, Dunlop tires, fast-moving consumer goods such as Unilever, Walls ice cream as well, in many regions. We also shareholders in one of the leading multi-finance company in Indonesia. We also have our own multi-finance company, small banks, and as well hotel projects with one of the largest media publishers in Indonesia. In total, we have over 150 branches across Indonesia, and in 2015, actually, the company has been fully run by professionals, and that's why in 2016 I started Indogen Capital. And again, move on to today's agenda. Let's talk about the esports potential in Southeast Asia. So this is the gaming industry in Southeast Asia in terms of numbers. If you look at the potentials, Southeast Asia is actually the fastest growing mobile games market in the world. So you can see that the potential revenue is 4.3 billion across different platforms. So over here, I share about the numbers for mobile, PC, and also console, right? You can see that actually close to 70% actually the revenue generated through mobile gaming. And how about the gaming industry in Southeast Asia? So playing video games actually become widely very popular across all Southeast Asia countries. And actually, for example, sharing from Indonesia side, esports officially has become a sport. So not only an esport, but also a sport in Indonesia. So there's a sport associations specializing in managing the esports in Indonesia. And in 2019, actually, our president even sponsored the biggest online game competitions in Indonesia and name it the Presidential Cup. So this actually supposed to continue in 2020, but COVID happens, right? And I really believe that once we can the situation settle down, then obviously the presidents will continue the programs, and similar events actually also being held across other Southeast Asia countries as well. And gaming industry in Southeast Asia, I will share you the breakdowns. If you look at the number of the esports audience, actually there is a steady pace of growth. If you look at the occasional viewers compare with the esports enthusiasts, right? So you can see both sides actually keep increasing steadily, and total viewers, total audience, I would say, is already projected to be in 645 millions in 2022. In 2019 alone, it's actually already reached 454 millions. So obviously, you can see that the potential is massive, right? And Asia Pacific actually will account for 57% of esports enthusiasts in the world in 2019. So this one is a recorded data already. And if you look at the again at the type of games that being played, right? The games actually quite vary as well, and then you can see that there's a different level of success for each game in different countries in across Southeast Asia. For example, you can look here. I share the numbers for Counter-Strike, right? Dota, League of Legends, PUBG, and PUBG Mobile as well, and of course Mobile Legends. And you can see that obviously for Indonesia and Malaysia and Philippines and Singapore, Mobile Legends are doing really well, right? Dota. But if you look at PUBG and PUBG Mobile, actually they're doing better in Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam, right? Obviously, there is an opportunity for game actually to be with the massive numbers of potential followers and players. So in this, you can see that depends on the strategy. Then the success level can be different for different countries. Okay, the interesting numbers is the breakdown for Indonesia and Malaysia players actually for the games actually quite similar. Okay, for gaming industry in Southeast Asia as well, if you look at the number of the esports team followers across their social media platforms, actually you can see that these are the top teams in Southeast Asia, right? And you can see that there's an EFOS, Aura, RRQ, Bigatron, right? So those are the top four, right? And you can see that across the social media platforms from TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. So you need this data actually to be able to analyze the followers, and after that, then you can work better with them. Okay, so I will share that later on. So sign of good esports company to work with. Let's move on to the next sessions of today's agenda. So the first thing that you need to see is actually a good esports company will be able to capitalize very well on the macro trends. So you have to pay attention to the trends, right? So trends and opportunities in Southeast Asia. Number one, I really believe that you need to focus on mobile gaming. Again, I share you the data, right? So close to 70% of the revenue actually generated from mobile gaming. And you can see that 82% of Southeast Asia urban populations are gamers, with 80% actually playing via mobile. And afterwards, you have to look at the type of games. Again, I just shared you about the type of games as well. So depends on which country, then you have to pay attention to which type of mobile games they actually becoming very popular or rising, right? So the one that you want to work with is the one that actually playing the games that actually becoming very popular very soon. For EFOS, I'm sharing the data because this is our portfolio companies. It's easy to get the data. So EVOS have 62 players, divided into 14 different teams, and also operating in 5 countries. So they are the only players in Southeast Asia. So this enabled them to actually to cover broader audiences, and they also play all type of games, so all the popular games as well. So those 14 teams actually playing different type of games. So they play, for example, like Free Fire and Mobile Legends, the top 2 uh, games, mobile games in Southeast Asia. And the next one, the number 2 that you have to pay attention to, is the fans engagement, because the main driver of growth and to create revenue to do businesses is of course centered around the fans engagement, right? So if you look at EVOS, actually they have over 4.1 million followers in Instagram, 1.5 million in YouTube, and over 500,000 actually in Facebook. So in terms of number, they are the largest, and this rich ecosystem actually will enable them uh, to own the fan relationship. So there is a emotional thing going on of supporting the team, right? Just like sports team. So if you are a fans of, say, a Manchester United, for example, then you will live and die with it. So this is the same thing actually happening with esports as well. So they have that kind of emotional bonding between the fans and the team, and it's a matter of the brands actually how to be able to work with these rich ecosystems for their advantage. Okay. Next, you have to look at the numbers of sponsors that have worked. I think it's very important that they have the leading and not leading brands as well as sponsors. So you can see and evaluate whether being the non-leading brands actually there will be say an advantage they can create for you being a challenger brands. And if you are a leading brand, then you can see whether they can strengthening your brand's awareness in their ecosystem. But obviously, the target market you have to pay attention to is actually Generation Millennial and Generation Z. And for esports, actually, Southeast Asia actually have the largest breakdown of Generation Millennial and Generation Z populations, over 57%. Okay, so the potential audiences actually can reach over 30 million people. And again, over 50% will be Generation Millennial and Generation Z. So you have to look at whether you want to tap into these generations, and whether your brands actually want to and can work with these generations as well. I will share a sample case of Yamaha and EVOS. So Yamaha is a motorcycle brand for you that not very aware, because Yamaha actually producing many other things as well, right? But this one in this case is actually motorcycle. So obviously Indonesia is a big motorcycle markets. We are actually the largest motorcycle markets in Southeast Asia, and Yamaha is actually a challenger brand. The leading brand is actually Honda. So they actually want to work with EVOS actually to have the better positions with the young generations for the Yamaha brands, right? So from the beginning, they consulted with EVOS. They actually trying to find a better positions, and then of course the first thing came to mind is just to put the Yamaha logo on the EVOS jersey. But EVOS advised them actually that that is actually not quite wise, because for the young generation, actually they will not learn anything by having the Yamaha logo just put on the jersey, right? So instead of that, they actually created a rally cry called Generation 125. And the reason why they choose Generation 125 is because the engine capacity of Yamaha motorcycles at the lowest spec is 125cc, while the competitor actually at 110cc. So Yamaha is actually selling a higher spec at the same price with the competitions. So this is actually becoming a strength for Yamaha, right? So they want the customers to pay attention to this, right? To understand about what kind of value they get with the same amount of money. So by doing that, they created the rally cry of generation 1 to 5, where these generations actually will pay attention to the value they can get when they purchase a bike. They can understand about the specifications of the motorcycles, the capability, the quality of the products before they can purchase. So putting the generation 1 to 5 logo on EVOS jersey will get the fan space actually to search what is generation 1 to 5. And while they search, they also learn about the coolness of the Yamaha products and obviously as well as the strength. And that one will come in handy to create brand awareness and also competitive edge for Yamaha for the young generations. So they are not telling the young generations to buy Yamaha motorcycles, which is a no-no, right? Because the young generations, millennial and Generation Z, they don't like you to tell them what to do. So instead of that, then they educate them about the quality of the products, about what they can get with the same amount of money, and let them to decide by themselves. So this one is actually has been working really well, and actually this is the first case of Yamaha not putting a logo in a sponsorships. So if you want to work with actually reaching out to the generation millennial and generation Z, you have to listen to the esports team as well, because they understand really well about their fan base. They understand how to be able to capture their attentions. So it's very wise actually to sit down and then to talk and to discuss with them how actually to be best to reach out to their audiences. Okay, next. Let's move on to tips for brands. So obviously, if you're a brand, you have to again understand that each team, because each team actually have a different fans profile, right? They have a different percentage uh, of followers in terms of gender, and also different spending power. But obviously, for esports team followers, most of them will be most likely will be students, because again, at young age, right? The gender wise is quite balanced actually, but in the case of EFOS actually is uh, you can see that male is constituting 94%, right? So if you, for example, want to sell something to the female audiences, then probably this is not the right venue for you, right? Age as well, you can see that 17 to 20 actually dominating, right? 21 to 24, and also even below 17, right? So others actually very small, only 6.10%. And monthly income is actually uh, about 3 million rupiah. Okay, so about 200 US dollars. Okay, and in this case, is over 3 million is only 7.4%. So obviously, you cannot sell expensive products to this market. So you have to understand this really well, and then use this as your advantage. And then another tips for to work with the esports team is actually you have to really understand about the level of engagement across the social media platforms. You have to focus on the key metrics such as the number of watch hours, number of subscriber, and number of active community members, right? So another example using the EFOS case, the total viewers can jump up really high during big event like final or classic match with big rivals, right? So the actually in one game, one final game, for example, they can final match they can reach to 1 million, over 1 million for viewers even. Okay, so it's getting bigger and bigger, becoming very serious as well. So this is something that I really believe that all brands need to pay attention to, need to learn, need to study, so you can get the competitive advantage compared to your competitors. Okay, so you can see that there is also uh, community apps. Okay, this one is usually not very well known. So there are community apps like Discord that actually can be more useful in terms of fans engagement, and you can utilize this as well for your benefit. Next, you have to look at partnering with the right esport influencer, right? Because there'll be teams, right? Probably better off to create emotional bonding with the followers. But there, if you want exposure as well, there'll be leagues and events, right? And there'll be also IP ownership as well. So you have to pay attention to which one actually will be better for you, right? You have to learn about the differences between all of them and which one is actually will work better for you. I would say for teams, actually, if you want to create personal relationship, you want personal emotional relationship, just like what Yamaha is trying to do, actually, to get the sympathy from the esports followers, then of course, getting into esports is the right approach, right? But if you just want to big exposures for your brands, you are such a big brands, then probably leagues, right? Sponsorship into MPL probably going to work better, or ESL, right? So just an example, okay? And lastly, I will share about how esports actually generate sales to their community. So this is a quick sharing. So you can see that for esports, actually they need to build the fan base, right? So once they have built the fan base, actually what they want to do is they want to build it into a community. So they want to keep all the players and followers into one single community apps, and after that, then the followers they want to convert into loyal fans, right? So they want to create eForce members. Once they have turned into eForce members, then there'll be many things they can do, right? They can add more things into the community apps, where using that community apps, actually you can buy, let's say, play vouchers. You can maybe do promotional activities as well, sponsorships, right? They can pay. They can use that apps actually to directly pay prepaid vouchers, data packets as well. They can also probably paying electricity bills, right, or mobile phone bills, right, or for the using the platforms. Maybe getting into insurance as well, right, or maybe even buying like Yamaha motorcycles, for example, using the applications with special price. So there'll be many things they can do actually using the community apps, right? They're trying to build right now. So of course, obviously, they can build uh, and sell eForce merchandise as well using that platforms, right? So you can see that most of the esports team will have their strength in the terms of and different fan base and community as well. And from there, you have to see how they actually trying to get the level of engagement, and using that level of engagement, actually, which one will actually will work best for your brands. Okay. So if you have additional questions, or if you want to learn more about esports, or how to enter Indonesian market, you can feel free to reach out to our team. So I shared here informations of our principal Kevin and also our associate Ataya. So feel free to reach out to us anytime. Happy to help you, and I hope that you'll be able to find a good collaborations with esports ecosystems. Thank you. Uh, I believe the number is about 70 to 80%. Is this for the esports teams or for the company? For the company. So for the company, I think this is a bit confusing because you say that the esports marketing can become number one source of revenue for brands, because brands actually the one that spending the money, right? To actually to do the advertisements, and then to do the marketing. But I will try to answer the questions. So for brands, actually, they need to consider about doing esports marketing, because if they want to reach to generation millennial or generation Z, the young generations, actually it's going to be good for them to start first, than their competitions. Uh, in terms of this is going to be the number one things that you're going to spend your budget on. I think it depends on your products, your goals as a company as well. What do you want to achieve, right? And I think obviously esports marketing have to be considered, but at this moment probably not at the top for spending yet. I think if they want to build a community, especially to the young generations, they can start as early as possible. So it's good to actually to have the relationship. It's not just a marketing relationship, but personal relationships to the fans as well. And then from there, then probably then they can get benefits as well from raising the corporate image, say, or even the brand's image as well. Then after that, maybe from there, then going to their targeted market. So having the sponsorships to esports, raising the brand awareness, and I think there is a cool effect as well, because the young generations tends to bring the cool effect, that they are the future, right? So from there, then actually this is the kind of vibe that all brands want to get to be touched upon, right? So I believe that it's not only about whether your industry actually align with esports. It's about to make your product or services looks cool, right, to the young generations, and even to the older generation as well. uh, I think the time just started, so I really believe that it's going to be better and better. 2021 has proven to be pretty good for all esports teams, but we should continue working really hard, building our community, our fan base, doing interactions with our fan base as well. Is very important, because at the end of the day, that just like real sports teams, right? Just like sports teams, we are depends on our fan base, right? So if we have a loyal and we can engage really well with our fan base, then it's going to make the difference whether you get the sponsorships or not, or whether you can actually generate additional revenue. So I will suggest for all esports teams that we do not only concentrate on winning tournaments, but also to pay attention to PR boosts, marketing as well, and also the fans engagement and fans experience. Thank you everyone.